I don't believe in God. I know God.
I love me some Jesus.
You're doing too much.
That's crazy. That's on the next episode.
It's the moon reading.
I rock with you, YaYa.
It's all love.
They better listen to this advice. We good.
You crazy girl.
This is what this show is about, all right? We
With
keep
the
it real.
real and real talk, the God in God talk.
And that's a wrap.
I have been interested in lately is the idea of like Chronos time and Kairos time. Those are Greek words and Greek concepts. Chronos time is our like clock time. So it's 5 o'clock. It's going to take X amount of hours, you know, a real white Western, just a very structured way of thinking. Right. But then there's Kairos time, which is kind of meeting the moment where the thing can happen. I don't know if I'm describing this well, but this is how I understand Kairos time. It's like the moment where all things work together to have like basically your destiny come to be. And I believe like there are certain key pivotal moments in my life where I know that things have changed, where I've seen God reach their hand out to me and I've been able to reach my hand out and take God's hand. And those times that I think are Kairos times, I could only experience not holding on to Chronos time, not being so like structured and like, fighting against time. And so all that is to say that this latter part of 2025 has really been about just kind of reevaluating like what it means to be on time.
Yeah.
I like that. To always be on time and walk with God in God's time, basically.
Yeah. I like that because time is something that is so much importance is put onto it. So being able to see it in a different light and like now like you kind of get to do something with that as opposed you always feeling like time is against you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think for me, a spiritual practice that I've really done this year or the latter part of 2025 is I've gotten together with my mom, my wife, my niece, my sister. So we got like a whole girls group. And we've just been doing like our Bible study on Friday evenings, which has been really cool because one, we all have different Bibles, right? Translations, because like my mom's Bible is in Spanish and I have like an older translation. So everybody has like different translations, right? So it's really cool because we decided to really focus on studying the book of Proverbs. So much knowledge is in that, but in the way that each translation says it, it can give you something different. And then now you have women from all different walks of life, different ages, and now we're all bringing all of like our interpretations and seeing like how can we apply it to our lives today. And I think that has been spiritually fulfilling for me because it's just like an hour that we take out of our like Friday evenings to really get together, to share stories, to laugh, to really think on things, to really also evaluate ourselves with against what Proverbs says, and then being able to see how certain things in Proverbs are being lived out just in the world and in people. And that's just something that it's really cool because I'm like, it's that time. We really not thinking about what time it is or that it's a Friday night, and it's really cool to see how it's evolved because like now we're like, oh, okay, we should bring snacks when we're having. So it's like evolving.
Yes.
Yeah, which is really cute. And I'm like, I love this. Like being able to have this time with the women in my family is just it's really dope. And so that has been so spiritually fulfilling to me, regardless of what's going on everywhere else, to know that I have that. I'm like, cool,
That is so special. Like truly that is so special. I love me some Proverbs. So there's
Yes.
that. I think there's something about just knowledge and wisdom that is like just universal wisdom that you can just always pull from. So love some Proverbs. And then second, what you're doing with your family reminds me of you all, if you're familiar with Ernesto Cardenal, who was a Nicaraguan priest, poet, and mystic, right? And he wrote this book called The Gospel of Solentiname, right? And he talks about his time basically in the revolution, working with the, I guess, working class farmers, fishermen. I don't remember if it was farmers or fishermen. I think it might have
Yeah.
been fishermen. And basically, they did their own Bible studies. And it was revolutionary. Well, one, they had their own mystical experiences, but their Bible studies were revolutionary because they didn't wait to interpret, like they didn't need a priest or somebody else to interpret for them, to have the people be able to read for themselves and say
Yeah.
what they understand and what they got out of it.
Yeah.
It really was like super revolutionary, empowering, like the different faction, you know.
Yeah.
I can't really go into like the political history of Nicaragua,
Yeah.
but it's really fascinating. So if y'all are interested, look it up.
That's
I don't know, it just
dope.
reminds me of how empowering the Bible can be when in the hands of real everyday people.
For sure. And it's funny too that it's funny, like synchronicity that you would mention that because my mom is from Nicaragua. So so that's funny that you mentioned that. But absolutely, I think that being able to read it for yourself allows people to, it kind of grants them permission to be able to have an interpretation of it. And then, like, if you see my Bible, you see my mom's Bible, it's written up. We write in it, you know, we highlighting and all that. So it was really cool to see how, like, when people saw, like, you know, the other women in my family, when they saw our Bible, they were like, "Oh, you write in your Bible?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can write in your Bible. It's okay. You're not gonna happen," you know.
Love
And yeah,
that.
you know, it's like also like we forget sometimes how some people may need permission for that because you know we've been conditioned to think we can't do so many things when it comes to the Bible. You know, we can't read it on our own. We shouldn't like write in it. We shouldn't fold up the pages in it and stuff. But it's like, nah, you good. And so it's been really cool. That has definitely been feeding me spiritually in 2025. So I'm happy about that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. So, let me just get into it,
Let's
right?
do it.
So it has been a while, listeners, God talkers, but it is story time.
Oh.
Right. So, as you know, prior to our last episode, we were on somewhat of a hiatus.
Right.
But that has actually not stopped y'all from still hopping in our DMs, reaching out, texting. We love you guys.
Yes.
To ask us some practical questions, We are totally here as a resource to you, so keep doing it.
Facts.
So a friend of the show slid into our DMs. We'll call her Bible Girl 1.
You give an AOL.
Right. Throwback.
Right.
We'll call her Bible Girl 1. And she slid into our DMs with this message. This is super random, but I noticed the MDiv degree listed in your bio. And you're the perfect person to ask. So I've been looking at religious degree programs, right? I have no desire to be anything in ministry, don't care to be licensed at all. I just want to learn how to deep dive into the Bible better and learn more about biblical history, etc. Would you say you got that in your divinity program? Because I've been trying to decide between divinity school, seminary, and Bible college. Some articles say they're different. Some say seminaries may be more denominational based, while divinity is a broader scope. I'm trying to learn. What's your take? So,
All right.
right.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. That's a full question.
So I'll
Love
start
it.
us off. So
Yeah.
before we get into it, share a little context.
Mhm.
According to the American Association of Theological Seminaries, over 20,000 new students enroll each year at some type of seminary, divinity school, or Bible college,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So this, plus the fact that you and I, Truth and I, met at seminary back in 2016.
Yeah. 2016? Yeah.
Yeah, 2016. It is pretty likely that Bible Girl 1 is not the only person with this question.
Exactly.
It's pretty likely that others are probably wondering the same thing, which really makes this the perfect real talk question. Seminary, Bible college, or divinity school, what's the difference and what's the point?
Perfect. Yeah.
And to kind of start us off on the front end, I really do like to make sure that we're answering the question that is being asked.
Yeah.
Because, get us talking, we could talk.
Facts.
It does seem that Bible Girl just wants to know more about the Christian Holy Bible. Like she seems to be really Bible focused,
Yeah.
right? and have a greater context and understanding of its meaning as a text. Her actual question is around our personal experience. And she wants to know, did we get a deeper understanding of the Bible from seminary? Why or why not? And so you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off with that. So answering her question, did we get a deeper understanding of the Bible from our seminary, or from my seminary experience? Yes. So I'll say this. From seminary, I got a lot of the historical context of the Bible and the context of when the Bible was written, the context that it was in, the history surrounding it, the Greek and the Hebrew texts and what that meant. So we got a lot of that, right? So I got a lot of that context and understanding. Looking at maps was one of the major things we also did. Understanding the language and why certain words were used over others is also something that we learned. Now, as far as application of this history and this context, I think a lot of that, yes, some of it can come from seminary, and a majority of it will just come from what we do every day, which is just live our lives, right? So I feel like depending on the school that you decide to go to, and like you said, whether it's a Bible college, a divinity school, or seminary, the experience will vary. I think for me, being at Union really helped me look into more how worship could look. And sometimes it helped me be able to see all the different ways that you can do worship, that you can do praise, and all the ways that I would want to do worship and praise outside of seminary. So, quick answer, I did get a deeper understanding of the Bible's history in seminary. You get some type of guidance in asking questions about the text that you probably wouldn't get from just going to church and going to a Bible study at your church, So, yeah. What about you?
I think my answer would be very similar to yours in that, did I learn more about the Bible? Hands down, 100% yes. For me, that is because attending seminary taught me how to think critically about the Bible. Prior to attending seminary, I was a passive recipient of other people's thoughts, ideas, and their personal theologies overlaid onto the Bible. I was often presented with a lot of biblical literalism, which is basically taking what the words say word for word and literally what that means. And that didn't feel right to me. That felt wrong. And a part of why I went to seminary was to basically kind of like debunk the things that just wasn't making sense to me, and then come up with my own understanding. And so like, did I learn so much? Hands down, yes. Me personally, my favorite was Old Testament. Like I absolutely was like mind blown. Like just mind blown. Enjoyed like, I'll just never forget, learning about Psalms, the poetry, and how you have to understand the cultural context. You're not going to understand anything if you don't understand the culture that this arose out of. And that part of it was a highly academic endeavor.
Yeah, that part of it is huge. Yeah, that's part of it is huge. Yeah.
But like Truth said, if you want an academic or a professional endeavor, definitely. If you want a faith-based or an instructive endeavor to like deepen your own personal faith, I don't know if that is what you're gonna get. So,
Yeah, agreed. I think you hit the nail right on the head with saying you learn how to think critically. And I found a place of asking the right question. So I'm always questioning the text, but I think I was able to learn to ask the question, okay, where is God in the text? Now, I wouldn't have gotten that had I not gone to seminary, because that's just not the way it's taught outside, And then it's like, even the question of like, is God in the text? Like literally, is God in the text?
That would even be a question was not the type of thing that I would have ever asked prior to seminary.
Absolutely. Same.
Yeah.
Same. So like these type of experiences, I think, depending on the seminary or place that you go to, can really shape you. And also, if they are not asking you that question, if they're not telling you can ask that question, it can also shape you. So I think if you do decide to go into it professionally, it is something that you have to take serious as to where you want to go.
Yeah, definitely. Because, not to belabor this point, but,
Hmm.
we went to Union Theological Seminary, which is really social justice oriented, which is politically aware.
Yeah.
And I learned more about how to decolonize my mind and my understanding of faith and theology. A lot of emphasis is placed on liberation and
Yeah.
liberation theology, and not just Black liberation theology
Nah, there's
either,
queer
you know.
liberation, women's. There's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that that is a part of the reason why the space that you go to in the school and the just the ethos around that learning environment is going to be really important in terms of like shaping, like Truth said, the types of questions that are asked, the types of conversations that are had. But in terms of did we learn more about the Bible and did it increase our understanding? Sounds like it did.
Sounds like it did. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Right, right, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seminary is one place that you can learn about the Bible,
Yeah.
but you can learn anything from anywhere. Like you could legit make something twerk with some scholarly engagement using YouTube or a library card. Um, you
Absolutely.
know, but ultimately only you can truly know the best environment for you and what you're trying to do. So we can help you with defining each of your options, but the rest is really about knowing yourself and the kind of the why behind your desire to go to school or your desire for more biblical understanding.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of get the information out there, let's dig into the actual definitions and purposes of seminary, Bible college, and divinity school, and the types of degrees that you can get from each.
Sweet.
So, first, seminary is by definition a noun. It's a college that trains students to be priests, rabbis, or ministers. So, Truth, you and I, we met at seminary in New York City, like we
Mm-hmm.
said. That being said, let's talk a little bit about like what it was actually like. What exactly are you degreed in? Why did you decide to attend? Especially considering neither of us are priests, pastors,
Mm-hmm.
rabbis, chaplains, like we don't
Yeah.
really, we went, but now
Yeah.
what? Ultimately, what was gained from the experience?
Yeah. So I graduated with MDiv, Master's in Divinity, and my area of study was theology and the arts. So it's exactly that. It was God and where is worship and how we worship and how do we see that in art and not only in like worship, but also like paintings and theater and song. And so all that was like, how do we tie in worshiping, God and how does our understanding of God play out in our worship? And when I decided to attend seminary, I previously before that was attending some other just like certificate programs. And one of my professors there was like, hey, you should really go and get your master's and you should go and apply at this school because I think they would be really aligned to how you think and I think you'd be able to gain a lot from them. Before that, I never thought about even getting a master's. That was how like my journey kind of ended in that. I didn't know if I wanted to like be a pastor or minister or whatever it was. That wasn't something that was really that I was thinking of when I applied to seminary. For me, it was like, well, I get to learn more. And we'll see where this goes. And for me, it was really like I felt like I was called to attend seminary. And so I really have followed that. Now, what I ultimately gained from the experience, like besides I gained some really great friends out of it. That's for sure. Like
Mhm.
got to share so many different like life experiences with that. Um, but I think ultimately I was able to gain a sense of freedom in thinking about God. It was great to see the Bible in its context, asking the questions of like, where is God in the text? Where is God not in the text? And then also coming face to face with a lot of beliefs that we probably just hear growing up and we have just said to ourselves, yeah, no, it has to be in the Bible. And then being, having like a professor be like, okay, well, where is it then? Can you show us?
Mm,
And then being like,
mhm.
oh, it's not there. So having coming to face with those moments and then also coming face to face with um having your beliefs challenged is not for the weak. you know? But I think one of the greatest things that at seminary happens is that you do get your beliefs challenged. And it shouldn't be in a way that is to kind of make you feel bad, but into like helping you understand what you believe in. And I think that's one of the greatest things that I gained. I was able to come out of that experience and really have a stronger relationship with God and a deeper understanding of God because of everything that came with that seminary experience. So,
Mm.
yeah. What about you?
Wow, it's so funny. Having this conversation just brings me back.
A
It
lot,
just
right?
brings me so back. Let's see. I concentrated in psychology and religion. Got my MDiv in psychology and religion, and really thinking about what that means. Mad thousands of dollars later, I'm not sure. Like it learned a lot in terms of like theories of psychoanalysis and the ways in which people and society function religious spiritually in terms of theology. And so it was just like an array of topics and classes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I concentrated in that just strictly off of vibes. Like
Nice.
really off
Nice.
of vibes. I was interested in the classes, so I just kept going. Attending seminary for me was a multi-layered endeavor.
Mhm.
It like, there's union as a school, a strictly academic experience. There's the social milieu and environment of what it means to go to, somewhat of a prestigious institution
Yeah.
with a lot of people of like mind who are all here under the pretext of faith and religion and whatever that means,
Yeah.
and how that actually plays out in real life is often very different than the
Very.
ideas that people have of themselves. And so like,
Mhm.
it was a very multi-layered experience for
Yeah.
me, but I will say I've shared this story obviously with Truth and with you listeners a little bit, but what brought me to seminary was truly listening to God's voice. In 2016, my husband and I got married, and a month later, I moved away and went to seminary, went to
Yeah.
seminary. And like, I think at the time it was kind of like a little bit traumatic. Like it was hard to have a long
Mhm.
distance relationship with your husband in the first month of you
Yeah.
guys being married. And everyone's like, what are you doing? Like, how could you leave your man? Like, all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But at that point in my life, and we explore this goal. And the reason I went to Union specifically was because Dr. James Cone, rest his soul,
Mhm.
our dear teacher,
Yeah.
was a professor there. And he's one of the fathers, one of the four frontrunners of Black liberation theology.
Mhm.
And I had, during this point, it might have been like 2014, 2015, Black Lives Matter was really,
Mhm.
at the forefront of my consciousness and our country's consciousness. And I just couldn't make sense of this American situation where Black people were hated
Mhm.
and are hated and
Yeah.
are treated as such. And I felt like I had turned to politics. I had turned to like a little bit of like getting involved in like some organizing spaces. I had looked for the solution in all these places. I really put my hands up and looked to God. And when I started reading Black Theology of
Mhm.
Liberation, that really just put some ideas in my mind. And I was like, I have to learn from Dr. Cone. I must. And, my husband was just like loving and supportive enough to say that if God is telling you to do this, then you need to do this and we're going to do this.
Mhm.
And so, we went to seminary, and what I got from it, like overall, was the most interesting, fascinating, experiential learning I've ever had. Professors like Dr. Cone, Dr. Hung Kung Chung,
Mhm.
I was able to study at JTS, Jewish Theological
Mhm.
Seminary, across the street. And we did a joint program where I did some chaplaincy work at the Rose Center at Rikers Island, working in
Mhm.
the women's jail. And like some of the greatest lessons that I learned were not in the classroom. They
Yeah.
were in grappling with faith under the instruction of some really powerful and dynamic people and peers as well, friends. Like, oh my goodness, the friends made were
Yeah.
just really changed my life. And I think coming out of that seminary experience, like totally woke, like woke in a way. And,
Yeah.
people use woke as a pejorative, and I will never. Like, we need to wake up. We need to be aware of the ways in which God and our understanding of God has been manipulated to not serve life.
Yep.
And when, truth, when you said you can look at the Bible and you could say, is God even in the text here? Or, we hear these things like, being gay is a sin, or
Yeah.
that the curse of Ham, and black
Yeah.
people deserve to be exploited and castigated because of blackness. Like, we are able to look into the text now and say that is false, and that is false because XYZ. And if you look at the greater context and you look at the line in which scholars have studied this, you can mark how this has changed. You can look at church history and see where certain decisions were made. And being empowered, like whether or not I'm a Christian now, or even whether or not I work in any type of like faith or whatever,
Yeah.
that type of empowerment nobody could ever take from
Right.
me.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And it helps, like you said, it's when you're living it out. I feel like I could live it out now. Like, I feel like that spiritual part of me no longer feels like a shirt I could throw on and throw off after Sunday. It really helped in just being like, nah, this is part of life, and it is part of life. It's not something separate.
Yeah, and I feel like, people try to little bro you and be like, "Oh, well, have you read the Bible? You don't know." And like, people take all types of ideas and take their
Yeah.
own personal and political beliefs and opinions and
Mhm.
overlay that onto the Bible. And I think one of the biggest benefits, Bible Girl said basically, she doesn't want to get licensed. She doesn't want to do this professional. She just wants to know. There is something to be said about being able to like really kind of push back on that.
Yeah.
That little like, oh, you can't little bro me.
Yeah.
I know, I does this.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. We've covered a bit about our experiences in seminary.
Yeah.
We've defined seminary itself, but what about divinity school and Bible college?
Ooh, so divinity schools tends to be religious or faith-based, and theological schools that are parts of larger institutions, whereas seminaries, we have Christian seminaries, they do tend to be geared a little more towards particular denominations. Seminaries and divinity schools both provide master's and above level degrees. Divinity schools, however, are more graduate level institutions, are focused on professional ministry. So on the flip side, Bible colleges, they tend to provide undergraduate level and basically general Christian education. So basically training for specific vocations, like training for a pastor or someone in ministry within a larger university, right? And Bible colleges in the US get somewhat of a fundamentalist rep. When you say Bible college, there's like certain eyebrow raising that goes with that. So it is more of a buyer beware, because you want to make sure that before you spend like any of this money on any of these programs, but especially a Bible college, you want to make sure that it's reputable and that it's accredited appropriately, because these schools are for a particular denomination. So when they're teaching you within the parameters of that denomination. Some possible degrees can include, like YaYa myself, Master of Divinity. That's for like ordained ministry. There's a Master of Theological Studies. It's an MTS, and that's for academic or broader ministry study. And the Master of Arts, the MA, and with a specific concentrations like biblical counseling for Christian education. There's also doctoral degrees such as Doctor of Ministry. That's a demon. That sounds
Not a
wild.
demon.
That sounds wild. And basically, it provide advanced professional training. And there's also the Doctor of Philosophy, this PhD, which focuses on scholarly research. These are some of the differences between like Bible college, seminary, divinity school.
Okay, cool. So for the first part, we've kind of covered the what, but now let's talk a little bit about the why, right? So Bible Girl, our our girl Bible Girl, she is in a fulfilling career. She is making that money already.
Yeah, nice.
Yet she still has an inkling to go to school to have a closer relationship with the biblical text. To me, this points to a major potential why that might be driving our dear listener and maybe others when it comes to pursuing divinity school. There's the most obvious reason. If you're going to be a pastor, priest, or minister, or anything like that, you want to have a full understanding of the biblical text and a full understanding of theology. So cool. But even aside from our personal faith, Christianity and the biblical text is central to our society. Politics, culture, in every realm, Christian theology really has, at least in the West, in the United States, if you scratch the surface of something, there's some like idea about God and
Absolutely.
theology kind of underneath that. So, a few examples of that might be we talked a little bit about the justification of slavery, of American slavery, or
Correct.
this being like the curse of Ham. We've talked about people saying gay marriage is wrong because of,
It says it in the Bible.
prohibitions against that.
Right.
We've talked about, let's see, what's another example of
Abortion.
right. Like hot topics, that thou shalt
Yeah.
not kill, and then
Exactly.
saying abortion's wrong. Like we could go on and on and on about the ways in which theology underpins art,
Correct.
history, literature. You want to be able to, that new movie on Netflix, Ruth and Boaz. If you haven't read the Bible, you're not gonna get the context, right?
Exactly.
So, often our pastors, preachers, religious leaders, they'll be up on the pulpit, they'll kind of be saying any old thing.
Anything.
They'll be
Anything and
saying
everything.
whatever. And we will know in our hearts of hearts that it's anti-life, it's anti-Christ, it's anti-people, but we might not have the knowledge base or the toolbox to actually push back on that. And we might want to be able to confidently stand up to it. Like we talked a little bit about that earlier in the episode as well, kind of spurring some of my reasoning and maybe our reasoning for wanting to go to seminary. We want to kind of move beyond biblical literalism.
Yeah.
So, closing out this conversation, I will ask you any final words for Bible Girl or anyone else seeking a closer relationship with a God or the Bible through a degree program? Like, there's the facts of the matter,
Yeah.
how much it costs, what's the school, what you're going to get from it, but like just born out of your personal experience.
Yeah.
What do you got to say?
I would say if you're going to do it for you. Point blank, period. Know why you're doing it. Know your why. I think that's the most important thing. That for me, I knew my why. I knew why I wanted to go down that path because I could have easily told that professor, like, nah, not trying to do that. But I knew my why. I think it would be good if you already have a relationship with God. Hold on to that while you're going through seminary. Hold on to it tight and be open to the new things that you will learn, but also understand when something still sounds a little funny to you and it don't fully make sense. And I think my last piece of advice is question everything. Really, I think that was one of the things that I really loved about seminaries. You could question it all. So if it doesn't matter if people are like, oh, it costs so much money, you could just learn this online. Yeah, true, but that just may not be how you learn, and that's cool too. And if you want to, go ahead and just know your why.
Yeah, I think I agree wholeheartedly with Truth. I don't have that much to add. On top of that, I think knowing your why is going to be totally key. Knowing your why and remaining in touch with God, like that why will point you towards like, why are you doing this? Is it because God is telling you? Are you feeling it in your heart and in the core of yourself that this is something that you want to do? Well, that's fine. It's just money, like
Yeah.
whatever. Like you'll be fine. It'll be a part of your life experience. But on the flip side, I have to say, it's not free.
Right.
And at the end of the day, if you're looking to be transformed and made over by going to seminary or Bible college or divinity school, I don't know if that in and of itself is going to transform you or even transform your understanding. You
Yeah.
can get as much knowledge as is in the world, but wisdom,
That's facts.
I can't promise that you're going to get that.
Yeah.
So,
Can't promise you'll get understanding either.
yeah.
They go hand in hand. So, and that's also us people, speaking from experience. So, yeah.
Well, we'll leave it there.
To keep the conversation going, tell us what you think by following us on Instagram or Twitter at Real Talk on Godtalk.
It's YaYa, and you're listening to the moon reading. And this is a special one because it is being released on 11/11, the perfect day to talk about angel numbers. Whether you associate them with divine order or just another woo-woo internet trend, you've probably heard of angel numbers. Those repeating or meaningful sequences like 111, 333, 777. Many believe them to be a gentle message from God or divine spirit, your higher self, or even from the universe. Though the modern phrase angel numbers comes from the New Age thought movement, which at times was problematic, for lack of a better word, the idea is ancient. In Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah, Gematria taught that every letter holds a sacred numerical value. Early Christians saw divine meaning in numbers. 3 for the Trinity, 7 for completion, 12 for spiritual authority. And in Islam, numbers hold sacred meanings as well. Across the Abrahamic traditions and in the East, numbers were seen as proof that God's design is written into the fabric of creation, and the study of these sacred connections is called numerology. Even in more modern teachings, like those of the 5% Nation, the cultural and religious movement, which highly influenced hip-hop culture of today, numbers are seen as a language of truth, and their belief system is referred to as divine mathematics. So, one might wonder, what's the significance of all the ones? Why is 11/11 so powerful? In numerology, 11 is known as the master number, a sign of spiritual awakening, intuition, and alignment. Seeing 1 doubled is often seen as a divine wake-up call, a portal moment to pause, pray, and realign with your higher purpose. Whether you're a full-fledged believer or just a little curious about numerology and angel numbers, here are a few ways to tap in. First, don't just stand there and learn something. You can hit YouTube or TikTok to get into the subject, but if you really want to go deeper, support your local public library. Ask them to help you research. I'm sure this would be a fun assignment for your local librarian. Second, when it comes to angel numbers specifically, when you notice repeating numbers, pause and ask yourself, what might God or the universe be trying to show me right now? Take notice of what you were thinking about and what was going on in your environment at the time. Clues everywhere. And third, keep track of the patterns. Start a note in your phone, cataloging every time you notice angel numbers. Keep track of the numbers that show up and the emotions that come with them. You never know what you might find. So on this 11/11, remember, the divine is always speaking. Sometimes in whispers and coincidences and synchronicities, and sometimes in numbers. All we have to do is slow down, notice, and receive the message.
Thank you, YaYa, for that moon reading. Making sure we on point. 11/11, y'all. I love it. Yeah, so make sure y'all following us on Instagram, Real Talk on Godtalk. Share this episode with someone, tell them to sign up for our Real Talk Circle, free membership. So make sure if they want to be in the know, they want to join the conversation, tell them to sign up. It's free. Thank y'all for listening. We love y'all, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Love ya.
I don't believe in God. I know God.
I love me some Jesus.
You're doing too much.
That's crazy. That's on the next episode.
It's the moon reading.
I rock with you, YaYa.
It's all love.
They better listen to this advice. We good.
You crazy, girl.
This is what this show is about, all right? We
With
keep
the
it real.
real and real talk, the God in God talk.
And that's a wrap.